So today we turn our eyes to the East, to the ancient wisdom tradition known as Taoism. And Taoism begins with a legendary philosopher from the 6th century BCE called Lao Tzu, which means in ancient Chinese, old master. And look, contemporary scholars don't even all agree that he's real, that he ever lived. He may be a literary creation, but for our purposes, his name is attached to one of the most important philosophical texts on the planet. This collection of 81 brief, terse, concise, and powerfully evocative poems called the Tao Te Ching. Now, the story of how the Tao Te Ching got written is itself a remarkable legend. And the story goes that Lao Tzu, in his old age, was growing increasingly tired of people. And as he put it, their unwillingness to cultivate their own virtue. And so the story goes, he just got on his donkey one day, or on his oxen, depending on which painting you look at, and rode off into the mountains, never to be seen again. But when he got to the mountain pass, there was a gate and a gatekeeper. And the man there recognized Lao Tzu as a man with some wisdom and said to Lao Tzu, before you disappear into the forest, would you mind writing down some of your wisdom? And Lao Tzu said, no, I'm not going to do that. First of all, I don't have any wisdom. And if I did, I wouldn't know how to write it down. But lucky for us, the gatekeeper was insistent and wore him down. And according to the legend, Lao Tzu stayed in the gatekeeper's hut for 3 days and wrote this 5,000 character, 81 chapter little book of poetry, the first line of which is, the Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. So Lao Tzu starts the project with a disclaimer of philosophical skepticism, of ineffability. Look, he seems to be saying, we're going to talk about this thing called the Tao, which in Chinese simply means path or way. But whatever concept begins to take shape in your mind, please don't forget that that concept is not the Tao. Or as it's put often in Zen Buddhism, all words and concepts and ideas are just a finger pointing at the moon. And only an idiot would confuse their finger with the moon. The word is not the thing. As Alan Watts puts it, the menu is not the food. The map is not the place. The concept is not the lived experiential reality to which the concept points. So the Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. But we've got to talk about it anyway. So he writes this beautiful book of mysterious poems about the Tao and about how wise people live in accord with it, in harmony with it. And at the heart of Taoism is this idea of the Tao. The Tao is ultimate reality in Taoism, but it is not personified. And this is where our work in Taoism begins. The Tao is ineffable. It cannot be put into words or even concepts. Whatever thought you are having about the Tao is not the Tao. And there's a wonderful teaching in Taoism from another philosopher that came a couple hundred years after Lao Tzu called Zhuangzi. And Zhuangzi left us this simple metaphor. He said, a rabbit snare is for catching rabbits. When the rabbit is caught, the snare is forgotten. A fish trap is for catching fish. When the fish is caught, the fish trap is forgotten. Words are for capturing ideas. When the idea is caught, the words are forgotten. Where is someone who can teach without words, he says. That's who I want to study with. So it's sort of delicious, isn't it, that in Taoism you have this real clear message of ineffability, that ultimate reality cannot be thought or spoken. And yet all Taoism does is think about it and speak about it. They write these beautiful books about that which cannot be written. So that's where we begin, in our study of Taoism.